Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day, with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills.
Good morning, Mrs. Buerta and class. Today I will be talking about the history of astronomy. Let's start at the beginning, the very beginning, with the 4 eras of astronomical history. Now, Western astronomy divides into 4 periods: the prehistoric before 500 BC, classical 500 BC to AD 1400, and Renaissance 1400 to 1650, and then you get modern 1650 to present. Now, we will be going over a few major advancements during these times. Here we have one of the first advancements in ancient astronomy, Stonehenge. So now it aligns with the locations of the sunset, sunrise, moonset, and moonrise at the summer and winter solstices, and it was probably used as a calendar. The Bighorn medicine wheel is an arrangement of rocks resembling a 28-spoke wheel found in the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming. It was used as a calendar by the Plains Indians from about 1500 to 1700 CE. It was used as an indicator of the summer solstice sunrise and sunset. However, the alignments were controversial as they could be due to chance. Move on to the classical era. Now, the 4 major civilizations who studied astronomy in this era were the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Roman Empire, and the ancient Greeks. However, I'm sure as you can all guess, the Greeks were actually the most influential during this time, as they didn't study the physical models of the solar system, but rather they studied mathematical models. Did you know that the first preserved written documents about astronomy were actually those of the Greek philosophers? 2 major astronomers during this time, one of whom was also a philosopher, were Eudoxus and Aristotle. Eudoxus didn't really do that much, however, he just made a very accurate model. However, it wasn't so accurate because of the beliefs of that time, and Aristotle was a major authority of philosophy until the late Middle Ages. He said that the universe can be divided into 2 parts: the imperfect changeable earth and the perfect heavens. They were described by spheres being with perfect shape. He expanded Eudoxus' model to make 55 spheres. Something interesting that happened during this era was Eratosthenes' experiment. He decided to work out the circumference of the Earth by doing the following. He noticed that at Alexandria, the obelisk there ended up having not any shadow during the summer solstice. So he ended up measuring the distance between Istanbul, Turkey, and Alexandria, and Syene. And then he ended up busy using the angles of the shadows at those places of a very high object. And so he managed to work out the circumference of the Earth. He worked out that the circumference of the Earth was 40,302 kilometers, which is pretty close to what we have today, which is 40,030 kilometers. Now we move on to the next era, the Renaissance era. The first astronomer we will be looking at today is Nicholas Copernicus. He proposed the idea of a heliocentric universe. He also calculated the relative distance to each planet. The church wasn't really that into astronomy. They believed that the Earth was the center of the universe by interpreting several scriptures from the Bible. And also ideas that questioned this church teaching might lead people to question other teaching, threatening the church's religious power, which they wouldn't have been too happy about. Most famous astronomer of the Renaissance era, Galileo Galilei. He observed the sky with a telescope that he invented. He proved Copernicus right, except for the fact that the orbits of the solar system were actually elliptical and not spherical. He also designed simple experiments about gravity, proving that heavy and light objects both fall at the same speed in a vacuum. Johannes Kepler. He used Tycho Brahe's data, another famous astronomer, his data to correctly describe planetary motion, and he also stated the 3 laws of planetary motion. The first astronomer of the modern age was Isaac Newton. He discovered the law of universal gravitation, he proved Kepler's 3 laws, he developed his own laws of motion, and he invented a reflecting telescope, calculus, and physics. Newton conducted hundreds of experiments on light and discovered the origin of the spectrum and also of physics, so essentially he invented the rainbow. Now we move on to Edmund Halley. Now I'm sure you heard that name and thought about the comet. And yes, he did become famous for his comet. Halley's Comet. Here's a picture of it. It passes every 76 years. He also catalogued the stars in the southern hemisphere, and he catalogued about 341 of them. He also helped Isaac Newton publish his book and provided Isaac with financial support. But he was also famous in the astronomical community for showing that Venus's path could be seen. He calculated a comet's orbit, demonstrating that comets have an elliptical path around the sun and return to the same point. Now, I'm sure you can all guess who this is, and also I'm sure that you can all read. So, yeah, I'll just be talking about him. He ended up as winning the Nobel Physics Prize in 1921 for his theory E equals mc squared. Up next, we have Edwin Hubble. He observed that the universe is expanding. He also classified different galaxies, as well as busy showing that there were ones other than the Milky Way out there. He also got a telescope. A final astronomer, Stephen Hawking, who sadly passed away in 2018. Now, he discovered the physics of black holes, the laws that govern the universe, and finally, Big Bang Theory. Not the TV show, the science. In conclusion, we know a lot about the universe and the world today. However, we've only scratched the surface. Now keep looking to the night skies, and I'll see you. Goodbye.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills,